which would be deemed to abrogate the obligations of a mere treaty of peace. A treaty of peace with the South, as a foreign power, would be a cowardly armistice, a cruel aggravation and prolongation of war. Subjugation. I do not choose the word, but take it and use it in the only sense in which it can be applicable. This is a republic, and the South must come under the yoke of freedom, not to work for us, but to work with us, on equal terms as a free people, to work with us for the security of a state of society, the ruling purpose and tendency of which, spite of all its bendings heretofore, to the necessities of slavery, spite of the incongruous foreign elements which it has had constantly to absorb and incorporate, spite of a strong element of excessive backwoods individualism, has beyond all question been favorable to sound and safe progress in knowledge, civilization, and Christianity. To this yoke the head of the South must now be lifted, or we must bend our necks to that of slavery, consenting and submitting, even more than we have been willing to do heretofore, to labor and fight, and pay for the due needs of a small portion of our people living in an exceptional state of society, in which Cooper's poems must not be read aloud without the precautions against the listening of family servants, in which it may be treated as a crime against the public safety to teach one of the laboring classes to write, in which the names of Wilberforce and Buxton are execrated, within which the slave trade is perpetuated, and at the capital of whose rebellion black seamen born free, taken prisoners in merchant ships, not in arms, are even already sold into slavery with as little hesitation as even in Barbary. One system or the other is to thrive and extend, and eventually possess and govern this whole land. This has been long felt and acted upon at the South, and the purpose of the more prudent and conservative men now engaged in the attempt to establish a new government in the South, was for a long time simply to obtain an advantage for what was talked of as Reconstruction, namely, a process of change in the form and rules of our government that would disqualify us of the free states, namely, a process of change in the form and rules of our government that would disqualify us of the free states from offering any resistance to whatever was demanded of our government, for the end in view of the extension and eternal maintenance of slavery, that men to whom the terms prudent and conservative can in any way be applied should not have foreseen that such a scheme must be unsuccessful, only presents one more illustration of that of which the people of England have had many in their own history, the moral myopism to which the habit of almost constantly looking down and never up at mankind always predisposes. That the true people of the United States could have allowed the mutiny to proceed so far, before rising in their strength to resist it, is due chiefly to the instructive reliance which every grumbler really gets to have under our forms of society in the ultimate common sense of the great body of the people, and to the incredulity with which the report has been regarded, that slavery had made such a vast difference between the character of the South and that of the country at large. Few were fully convinced that the whole proceedings of the insurgents meant anything else than a more than usually bold and scandalous way of playing the game of brag, to which we had been so long used in our politics, and of which the people of England had a little experience shortly before the passage of a certain reform bill. The instant effect of the first shotted gun that was fired proves this. We knew then that we had to subjugate slavery or be subjugated by it. Peace is now not possible until the people of the South are well convinced that the form of society, to fortify which is the ostensible purpose of the war into which they have been plunged, is not worthy fighting for, or until we think the sovereignty of our convictions of justice, freedom, law, and the conditions of civilization in this land to be of less worth than the lives and property of our generation. From the St. Lawrence to the Mexican Gulf, freedom must everywhere give way to the necessities of slavery, or slavery must be accommodated to the necessary incidents of freedom. Where the hopes and sympathies of Englishmen will be,
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.